Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you today to remind you of one great truth that separates the conqueror from the conquered, the lion from the sheep, the creator from the critic, and that is the discipline of emotional control. Yes, you must learn to act as if nothing bothers you, not because nothing can, but because nothing should. Understand this. The man who reacts to every irritation, every insult, every disruption, hands his power away like a beggar, gives away his last coin. And let me assure you, power once given away is rarely returned without a price. Emotional control is not the absence of feeling. It is the conscious discipline of choosing how and when to respond. Most people live as emotional slaves, reacting to everything around them like leaves in the wind. A look, a word, a delay, or a disappointment can send them spiraling. But the individual who has cultivated emotional control stands apart like a lighthouse in a storm, rooted, unwavering, powerful. When you master your emotions, you master your outcomes, because emotions are the energy that fuel decision-making, communication, and action. If that energy is scattered by impulsive reactions, you lose precision. But when that same energy is controlled and directed, it becomes power. Think about it. How many great opportunities have been ruined by anger? How many relationships damaged by jealousy or insecurity? How many brilliant ideas never executed because of fear? The moment we allow emotions to lead us without question, we give up our authority. That's not strength, it's surrender. Emotional control means you feel everything but are dictated by nothing. It means you can be angry and still speak calmly, be hurt and still choose to rise, be afraid and still take action. That is the kind of strength that doesn't shout, it radiates. In the business world, in personal growth, and in relationships, the man or woman who can remain calm under pressure commands respect without even asking for it. Calmness reveals self-trust. It sends a message to the world that you are not easily shaken, that your value is not up for negotiation. Emotional control is the armor of the successful. It does not mean suppressing emotions, but learning to understand them, use them, and move beyond their grip. You cannot think clearly, solve problems, or lead others if you are tangled in your own reactions. This is why Napoleon Hill taught that self-discipline is the foundation of all achievement. Without it, no other virtue survives for long. Emotional control is a form of self-discipline, and it must be practiced like a craft. It starts in small moments, when someone cuts you off in traffic, when someone challenges your ideas, when things don't go your way. In those moments, you are being trained. You are either becoming stronger or reinforcing weakness. Each choice builds the muscle of resilience or the habit of collapse. Over time, this control becomes your nature. You will begin to realize that external chaos doesn't demand internal chaos. Just because the world is loud does not mean you must shout back. Just because others are losing their minds doesn't mean you must lose yours. You become immune to manipulation. Because people can no longer provoke you at will, you become efficient, focused, and magnetic, because emotional calm draws others in. In stillness, you can hear your deepest wisdom, and in that wisdom lies your true power. Mental focus is the ability to fix your mind on a desired outcome without being dragged away by every fleeting thought or emotional disturbance. It is the art of holding your attention like a laser on what matters most, regardless of what is swirling around you. Emotional slavery, on the other hand, is the opposite. It is when your mind becomes a hostage to every emotional impulse, anger, fear, envy, doubt, or insecurity, and in doing so, it robs you of direction and clarity. The battle between focus and emotion is one you will face daily, and the side that wins determines not only your peace of mind, but the results you achieve in life. When you're mentally focused, you don't allow emotions to dictate your behavior. You may feel fear, but you act with courage. You may feel frustrated, but you respond with strategy. You may feel insulted, but you carry yourself with dignity. Emotional slavery makes you reactive. Mental focus makes you intentional. The average person lives like a thermometer, rising and falling based on the temperature around them. But the mentally focused person is like a thermostat, setting the tone, leading the environment, unaffected by temporary heat. There is a tremendous cost to emotional slavery. It eats away your time, clouds your judgment, and fractures your self-respect. People often believe they are victims of circumstances when in truth they are victims of their lack of focus. The man who gets distracted by gossip loses hours of mental energy. The woman who lets insecurity sabotage her efforts holds herself back more than any external critic ever could. Mental focus is the shield that protects your progress from being hijacked by emotion. It allows you to keep your eyes on the goal even when your heart is uncertain, your mind is tired, or your surroundings are noisy. Focus is not something you're born with, it is trained. And you train it by noticing every time your mind drifts or your emotions try to take over and bringing it back. You train it by learning to pause before you respond, to breathe before you speak, to think before you act. This simple discipline, repeated over time, builds a level of inner control that no circumstance can break. Emotional slavery is seductive because it gives you temporary relief or release, but it always leaves you weaker, regretful, or dependent. Focus, on the other hand, may feel rigid in the moment, but it leaves you proud, calm, and aligned with your purpose. You cannot achieve greatness if your mind is a battlefield of emotional chaos. You cannot build your vision if every emotional wind blows your decisions in a new direction. Mental focus is the foundation of freedom. When your mind is clear, you see your path. When your emotions are quiet, you hear your own wisdom. And when you choose mental discipline over emotional reaction, you step into the rare space where power lives. Not in noise, not in control over others, but in mastery over yourself. The subconscious mind is the silent architect behind every action, reaction, and result in your life. It is the soil in which every seed of thought is planted, whether by choice or by neglect. The truth is, your external reality, your success, your relationships, your habits, is only a mirror of the internal beliefs you hold deep within yourself. And these beliefs are not always formed through logic or conscious effort. Many are embedded through repetition, emotion, and experience. That is why subconscious belief is not just a passive component of your life. It is the force that silently shapes your future, choice by choice, step by step. Every time you tell yourself something, whether empowering or defeating, your subconscious listens and stores it as truth. If you tell yourself you are not good enough, not worthy, not ready, the subconscious accepts that narrative and begins to direct your actions to match it. You will subconsciously sabotage opportunities, avoid taking risks, or tolerate less than you deserve because your mind is simply trying to remain loyal to the beliefs you've impressed upon it. On the other hand, if you tell yourself that you are capable, deserving, and powerful, even before you fully feel it, your subconscious will adapt and begin to shift your perception and behavior to align with that higher vision of yourself. Napoleon Hill taught that the subconscious mind acts on dominating thoughts. This is not mystical, it is psychological. What you think about most, especially with emotion, is programmed into your subconscious as a blueprint. That blueprint then guides your focus, your energy, your instincts, and even how you interpret events around you. A man who believes opportunities are everywhere will see them. A man who believes he always fails will interpret every challenge as confirmation of that belief. The world reflects not what is true, but what you believe to be true. That is the astonishing power of the subconscious. This is why affirmations, visualization, and consistent self-talk are not motivational fluff. They are strategic tools for reconditioning the mind. You cannot expect to live a powerful life if your inner beliefs are small, fearful, or rooted in lack. To change your reality, you must first change what your subconscious accepts as real. This is done through repetition, emotion, and focused intention. Speak the words, visualize the success, feel the outcome, not once but daily with conviction. Over time, the subconscious no longer sees these thoughts as imagination, but as identity. And once it becomes part of your identity, it becomes part of your behavior, and behavior determines destiny. Most people try to change their life by force, changing jobs, partners, environments, without ever changing the inner program that created the dissatisfaction to begin with. The shift must begin from within. Your mind is always listening. Train it wisely. Your reality is not random. It is a direct reflection of the ideas, beliefs, and expectations you have allowed to live rent-free in your subconscious. What you believe, especially when it's beneath the surface, becomes the lens through which you interpret life, and eventually the script you unknowingly follow. Composure is one of the rarest and most misunderstood forms of strength. In a world that often equates power with loudness, dominance, and speed, the person who remains still, centered, and unshaken stands out like a mountain above the fog. Composure is not weakness, and it is certainly not apathy. It is control. It is mastery over one's impulses, one's ego, and one's immediate emotions. It is the invisible armor that shields a person from being manipulated, provoked, or thrown off course by chaos. True greatness does not need to announce itself. It does not react to every opinion, nor does it waste energy on things that do not serve the mission. Composure is that quiet confidence that says, I know who I am, I know where I'm going, nothing external can change that. When a person is composed, they carry a certain gravity. Others sense it. It calms rooms, shifts dynamics, and often demands respect without a single word being spoken. People may not understand why they are drawn to someone who is composed, but they feel the pull. It's because composure radiates authority, It says, I am not here to impress or compete. I am here to create, to lead, to endure. And endurance is where true greatness lives, not in flashy moments or temporary victories, but in the ability to remain steady while others panic, to stay focused while others get distracted, and to respond with wisdom rather than react with impulse. Composure gives you clarity. When others are emotionally charged, they make poor decisions. They speak recklessly, act hastily, and regret quickly. But the composed individual thinks strategically. They know that emotion may be honest, but it is not always accurate. Just because you feel something deeply does not mean it demands an immediate response. Great leaders, visionaries, and thinkers throughout history have all demonstrated this trait. Their power came not from overpowering others, but from staying composed under pressure, from choosing silence when it was wiser than speech, from taking deliberate steps while others ran blindly. In relationships, composure communicates security. It tells the other person, I will not crumble because of disagreement. I will not lose myself because of tension. This creates trust and admiration. In conflict, composure allows you to hear beyond words, to see the fear or pain behind the anger, and to respond in a way that de-escalates rather than fuels the fire. In personal development, composure is your inner compass. It reminds you that growth is not always loud, that transformation often happens in quiet commitment and repeated discipline. Composure is not natural for everyone. It is a choice, a muscle, a daily decision. You cultivate it by pausing, breathing, observing your own mind before letting your words or actions be controlled by it. You strengthen it by refusing to let every inconvenience become a crisis or every insult become a wound. Over time, this self-governance becomes part of your identity, and that identity becomes the very evidence of your greatness, not in how you shouted, but in how you stood. Not in what you conquered, but in what never conquered you.